Okay, here we're going to talk about starting the process of solving 3 by 3's. Now, how are we going to do this? Well, what I want you to do is I always want you to try to find an equation with a coefficient of 1 first. So for instance, right here, we see there's a 1x. And why is 1 so powerful? Well, I can multiply 1 by any number and it just becomes that number. That's very, very easy. So what I'm going to do in order to start solving a 3 by 3 system is I'm going to pick that one equation and I'm going to write it in two columns. So I'll first start by writing x minus y plus 2z is equal to 4. And over here I'll also write x minus y plus 2z is equal to 4. Now let's pick different colors here. So let's go ahead with my orange, and I'm going to put this second equation in orange. So I can write this, of course, as 2x plus y minus 3z is equal to 0. And I'm going to use a purple for my next one, and we'll call this last line right here 2x minus y plus z is equal to 4. Alright, now what's our goal? Well, remember this equation that I chose right here that has a coefficient of 1, I am actually going to multiply it by a number so that that 1 can cancel out the like variable. So for instance, what am I saying? I'm saying, hey, here we have a 1 and I want to cancel out a positive 2, so the question becomes, what will I multiply 1 by to become a negative 2? Well, of course I multiply by negative 2, because we know that negative 2 is going to cancel out positive 2. So let's go ahead and start distributing. And I know that negative 2 times 1 gives me negative 2x. I know that negative 2 times negative y gives me negative 2y. And I know that negative 2 times 2z gives me negative 4z. And I know that negative 2 times 4 will give me negative 8. Okay, so now we're literally just focused on these two equations. Remember, I took this equation right here, I multiplied by negative 2 to create that equation. And now we're basically just using elimination when we're adding down. We know that 2x minus 2x is a 0 pair. That's what we're doing. We are eliminating an x. And from here, we're just going to add everything down to create our second equation. So we know y minus 2y will give us negative 1y. We know negative 3z minus 4z will give us negative 7z. And this will equal, well, and 0 minus 8 is just negative 8. We have now created an equation that only has two variables. Okay, let's take a look over here at our second set of equations. Well, here we also want to cancel out a positive 2x. So we are going to multiply everything by negative 2. Okay, so let's see, negative 2 times x will give me negative 2x. We know that, I think I used the wrong color purple here, that's okay. We know negative 2 times negative y will give me a positive 2y. And we also know, let's see, the negative 2 times 2z will give me a negative 4z. And of course this will all equal negative 2 times 4, which is negative 8. So basically, guys, remember, I've taken this equation, I've multiplied it by a number to create that equation, and now I'm going to combine these two equations right here in order to eliminate a variable. Let me use the correct color this time, though. Okay, so we know negative 2x minus 2x is a 0 pair, and negative y plus 2y is going to be y, and z minus 4z will give us minus 3z. If it helps, you got to draw the 1's in there, so 1 minus 4 is negative 3. And this will equal 4 minus 8, which is negative 4. Now check this out. Once I have these two equations, I then want to write them on top of each other so that we have y minus 3z is equal to negative 4. So this is how we start the problem. We've just taken a 3 by 3 system and we have now turned it into a 2 by 2 system, and that's actually something we know how to solve. Alright? So that's all we're doing. We're getting rid of one complete variable and turning a 3 by 3 into a 2 by 2. Let's move on to our second example. Okay, here we are in example 2, and let's go ahead and use the same color scheme. Let's pick our very first equation, and we're going to put it in blue. Oh, and by the way, why am I choosing the first equation? Remember, your goal for this very nice intro is to find variables that have a coefficient of 1 or negative 1. And in this case, negative y means negative 1y. So let's go ahead and write 2x minus y plus 3z is equal to 7. And we can write this twice. 2x minus y plus 3z is equal to 7. Okay, now let's go ahead and write our second equation. Once again, I'm going to choose this nice orange color here. And we have 3x plus 5y minus 2z is equal to 4. And so the question will become, what variable do we want to cancel out? Well, remember, this 1 is in front of the y, so we want to cancel out our y's. And so you would ask yourself, hey, what cancels out a positive 5? What value cancels out a positive 5? Well, in this case, we know that it's going to be a negative 5. And notice this is already negative. So since it's already negative, all we have to do is multiply everything by 5. Okay, so I got 5 times 2x, which will give me 10x. Remember, I'm just dropping this line down after I multiply. We have 5 times negative y, which gives me negative 5y. And you can see that these are already going to cancel out. We have 5 times 3z, which will give me plus 15z is equal to. And lastly, 5 times 7, oh, wrong color, oh well, 5 times 7 is 35. Now you will notice that when I now take these two equations and I add straight down, I have 3x plus 10x, which is 13x. Notice I'm just kind of moving it over. 5y minus 5y cancels, and negative 2z plus 15z will in fact give me 13z is equal to 4 plus 35 is 39. And there is one of my systems, one of my new equations. Okay, let's take this nice purple here, and let's go ahead and choose our third equation. So we're going to write 5x plus 2y minus 5z is equal to 13. Okay, and what are we going to multiply this whole top line by? Well, remember, we have that negative y right there, and we have a positive 2y right there, and you ask yourself, what is the opposite of positive 2? Well, of course, it's going to be negative 2. And since that y is already negative, we just have to multiply by a positive 2. Okay, so what is 2 times 2x? Well, that's going to give us 4x. And let's see, what is 2 times negative y? That will give us minus 2y. You can see these are already going to cancel. What is 2 times 3z? Well, that's going to give us plus 6z. And of course, finally, what is 2 times 7? Well, that's going to give us 14. Okay, well, let's go ahead and add everything down. We know that 5x plus 4x will give us 9x. Our 2y minus 2y cancels. And negative 5z plus 6z will give us positive 1z is equal to 13 plus 14, which is 27. And remember, guys, once I have this, I would actually like to write my new system of equations by stacking these on top of each other, because in our later examples we'll continue to solve. But for right now, that is our starting process. That's how we're going to eliminate one variable for each of these and turn a 3 by 3 system into a 2 by 2 system. Good luck.